York City Transit. Take your questions. Sir.
Hi. Hello, everybody. We've had almost 6 hours of testimony in this phase of our outreach. It comes on top of 40-plus meetings and public outreach and hearings we've already held in the past leading up to this moment. But I'm very encouraged by the discussion. It's like really informed a lot of New Yorkers coming to let us know how they're feeling and have specific concerns and issues. Last night, there was about 3-to-1 supporters of congestion pricing. Today, it's a little more balanced. We're especially hearing from some folks who work for the fire department. Interestingly, what they are conveying to us is an interesting issue, which is they're not asking for a special exemption for their commuting, but circumstances where the city, their employer, is asking them to use their personal vehicles for moving gear around. I thought that was important for us to understand that concern. It was very useful. Less educational was what we heard from elected official in New Jersey who came and repeated some of the talking points from her mentor, Congressman Gottheimer, and then told us she wanted to be moved up in the speaking order because she was concerned about the traffic getting back. Do you understand yet why we're doing congestion pricing, elected officials in New Jersey? But broadly speaking, I think this process has been really helpful and informative for the board, and we're going to keep going. We got 2 more sessions in addition to one today, and we're learning a lot and taking it very seriously. So appreciate the New Yorkers who are showing up to speak on the issue.
All right, first up,
Andrew.
Right.
On the point you raised about the firefighters and their personal cars.
Yeah.
What would be, part of what they're saying is they never know if they're driving to work in their personal car and they've got 85 pounds of gear, they may then be asked, now you got to go to a fire in your personal car. So would you recommend to the Traffic Mobility Review Board that this approximately 2,300 firefighters' personal vehicles just simply be exempt for simplicity?
But let's talk about it. First of all, we're still in discussions with the city about work vehicles and how to define them, about which city work vehicles ought to be exempt. I think this is a situation where, a classic situation where the employer is asking an employee to make a special accommodation. They're asking you to turn your personal vehicle into a work vehicle. And I'm not sure whether that issue ought to fall on the congestion pricing system or in the relationship between the city, who's asking them to use their personal vehicle for work, and the firefighter. But I'm very sympathetic to their view that when they're called upon to actually turn their personal vehicle into a city vehicle for transportation of gear, that ought to be thought through as part of that. And we're still in discussions with the city about the full range of sort of defining work vehicles beyond just snow plows and garbage trucks.
All right, Greg Mocker back in the second tier there, picks 11.
Chairman, what do you do with the information and the stuff you're hearing now? Do you go have a board meeting
Yeah.
and discuss it then?
Yeah,
Could
I mean, well,
be changes?
Listen, this process is real. I mean, obviously, what was put into the State Administrative Procedures Act, the reason we're having these hearings, is there is a toll structure on the table that was developed by the TMRB, this third-party board that was created by state law. But we're getting comments on it, and obviously, it's about comments on the toll structure, how to adjust the toll structure. I don't want to mislead anybody. It's not about whether we're doing congestion pricing or not. It's about, is that proposed toll structure, does it make sense, and how might you adjust it? So we're taking it very seriously.
All right, Newton Joe's Brook at the third right here. He's on the left, his crew's on the right. I don't know where you're supposed to look. Go ahead, Newton.
You explained that in no uncertain terms, Mr. Lieber, that congestion pricing is a done deal. It's going to happen. What types of exemptions are you willing to consider? No,
but what you need to make clear to your viewers is that this was enacted as a matter of state law in 2019. The MTA is just an implementing agency trying to make good on what the state legislature and the governor at that time told us to do. This is frequently represented like I went on a drinking binge and came up with this idea as a way of funding the MTA. That's not the case. So it's time for all of you in the press to make it clear this is state law and we're just trying to implement it in an effective way that's fair to everybody. So all the exemptions that have been proposed by the TMRB are really clear. What they're trying to do is the ones that are in state law, which are, you know, basically the disability exemption, a special treatment of people of very low income. But otherwise, that what they have tried to do is to limit exemptions. So, because if you have lots of exemptions or discounts, everybody ends up paying more on the base toll. So we are still very much committed to that vision, but we're listening to what we're hearing here, and we're going to take into account in the discussion. That's all I'll say
Linda
on
Schmidt
that.
back there, Fox 5.
I just want to bounce off of what Andrew was saying. I just want to make sure that I'm clear on this, because some of the firefighters were talking about, you know, they're loaded up with their gear, they've got their personal car, they go to their firehouse, and then they get assigned to a different firehouse that day. And this happens usually hundreds of times a week because somebody's out sick or on vacation or whatever. And then they would be using a personal car, and then they would get dinged with this. So are you saying that you are entertaining the possibility of exemptions in those cases?
I think what I said, Linda. Thank you for the question. But what I said is we learned a lot today. They're not asking for special treatment because they commute with their cars. They're asking for consideration, broadly speaking, of the situation that you described when they're asked to turn their personal vehicle into a government vehicle for the transportation of gear. And that was news that we're going to chew on. And I just added that we're in discussions with the city, who is their employer. Normally when an employer says you got to travel a certain way to carry equipment or to, you know, carry material, they compensate you for the cost of that, whether it's 25 cents a mile or whatever. This is news, and we're going to be talking to the city about it.
All right, time for one more. Evan
Thank you.
Simcoe Bednarski back there came the furthest. Do you have a question? No, he passes. Alice, question? You've been standing there
I don't know if you
patiently.
had,
Alice Gaynor from
timeline?
CBS.
For when you might make the decision on the exemption? Did you mention that?
Yeah, I mean, the process, right now we're in the middle of the so-called SAPA process, the Legally Required State Administrative Procedures Act. We have to hold the hearings, and then after a certain amount of time, we can take action, but we've not set a date for that final action.
All right, thanks, everybody. Thank you very much. We've got a hearing. You've got noon shows. Appreciate it. Thank you. That's
Good.
You're fine. Right here.
Amanda. There's with Amanda. Well, thank you.